they attack it. Vicious will be starting on defense, and as such, they will get the very first ban.
This is a map that is definitely shaken up in terms of which bomb sites are favored. Maverick is not an unusual ban on here, as we mentioned last matchup. But it is one that you don't always have to do, but it definitely certainly makes the top bomb floors much easier to deal with in terms of defense.
Maverick sees such a large amount of bans here that it is not in any way, shape, or form a surprise. It also works as a nice counter ban to Mouse, because one of the American teams that tends to run Mouse more often than not, or tends to run Maverick more often than not, is Mouse on vertical in particular. And no surprise there to see Lion get banned out. Maestro often banned here, and then while Mira being banned is typically just a formality for most teams.
Yeah, it's definitely the case, though. It can be Maestro or Echo. In this case, it being Maestro makes a lot of sense for this particular map. We'll see, though, what the bomb site first is, and it's going to be Church to start things out with, down in Church Arsenal Room. At first, when this map got the changes, everyone wanted to play Cash first, Bedroom second, Church third, and Bar hopefully never. Whereas I feel like that's shifted over time. Church is starting to become more and more popular as a primary bomb site. It is still a great bomb site, no matter how you take it, but at the same time, there are pros and cons now to this bomb site that are different. So Dirt is much less played, I have to say, is one thing, but that's partially because Blue plays very differently in terms of the way you can come down the stairs on your attack, which means you can kind of flank things a little bit differently than you used to, but it is surprising to see so few teams really wanting to utilize the Dirt push anymore, despite so few teams actually countering it because of that. And we could see what Kix likes to refer to as that cyclical meta over time, where we see Dirt shift back in later because teams aren't countering it as much. But you never know.
Clubhouse in particular has definitely been a site that has been more cyclical than not, right? You go through the Dirt pushes, especially when Glaz was as oppressive as he was, incredibly strong, did so high damage. Very easy to push through Dirt there. Then you'd see teams focus on Blue back when there wasn't a staircase in Blue. Then you'd see teams, go through a kitchen push, through the hatch, and then you'd also see people attack Church. It's pretty incredible the way that this map has gone this way. But the one thing that works quite well for Clubhouse is now there are two more viable sites. And in a lot of teams' opinions, both Master and Gym, as well as CCTV and Cash, often come up on rotation more often than the basement does. So you don't need to worry necessarily about the cyclical approach to sites because there's more sites you can focus on.
And what I think is interesting as well is I think a lot of people were thinking that the Blue staircase was going to make a difference in roamers in terms of having more roam play on a site that generally sees almost none. However, I think it's more the changes to Cash and Bedroom that have actually made the biggest difference in that, because it is one place you can roam that's generally a lot safer. Yeah, most of the time, are you going to get back to site with your life? Probably not. You're probably going to die upstairs. But if you take a few people with you or burn a lot of time, you're still generally doing your job. So if you are a roamer that is willing to die for your cause, Cash Room's not a bad place to play. And we see a lot of attackers struggle to attack it. There you see in the connector room right there, the Legion of Oasis. So it actually is going to be Oasis playing after all on that. And unfortunately for LoJax, he's the first to go, so that is a Pulse off the board early, which is unfortunate because Pulse is so effective down in Arsenal. Denied early. Beastly in the meantime has taken a bit of damage, but Oasis trying to do some more to the attackers. Not going to work out. He actually is going to get back to site, so after what I just said, he did actually make sure to make the, but that was the blue stairs that I was talking about. So just to counter everything I was saying, they are going to play a little bit differently. It is unfortunate, though, again, to lose that Pulse so early. And this is a bomb site that used to just be full turtle. The idea of someone dying within the first minute of the round was so rare, unless they just happened to get a good floor bang or someone snuck in from Dirt fast. Either way, though, England going to be on that Thermite, going to be joining. They are going double hard breacher, which means they can open all the hatches as well as Dirt, as well as Church. A lot of options for them.
Old Club, I don't want to rag on it too much, but Old Club could be a very difficult map to cast because typically everything would happen in 25 seconds.
The first 2 minutes were droning.
Yes, you'd hope that you'd have a lot of analysis to do on the first minute and a half to 2 minutes of the round, because typically, unless it was bar stock on that main floor, when you were looking at a downstairs take, you would spend 2.5 minutes doing analysis, very little color commentary, or a lot of color commentary, very little play-by-play, and then when the play-by-play did happen, it was merciless because it would be it would be 10 people, 9 people, 8 people, all dying, depending on how it worked out.
Dropping hatch just to massacres.
And especially when Ying and Glaz were so powerful, because it'd be very difficult as they'd rush in so quickly. So, like you said, a little different in losing LoJax early on. Now, Beastly didn't have very much HP downstairs. Will lose the fight against Pixel, but Vicious unable to secure the kill that they need to. And this is the final 30 seconds where the execute needs to happen. Mousesports has control of blue, but that looked like it was Hyper who was creeping along blue, and well, he'll get finished off. England's still upstairs looking a little bit listless, and he'll need to join the rest of his teammates downstairs. Vertical drops hatch into Moto. He's going to look around trying to see if he is possibly dealing with a yokai. Nog will finish him off, playing so well on that smoke, and the smoke will choke off Beastly, who's now under fire himself. Beastly landing a kill on a Pixel, going for the hipfire as England. Nog will down him, and wow, it's a lockout from Vicious with good old Holiday Nog, whose stock definitely risen over the last couple weeks, putting in a decent amount of work on attack and now shining on defense. I'll take round number 1.
Still a lot of credit to Oasis as well, who not only managed to escape certain death upstairs, goes all the way down to get 2 kills of his own in that flurry of kills that still happened despite the setup that you gave that round. Either way, though, there was, as you said, a bit more going on at the beginning. But either way, though, good played on him. And rather than going to Cash second, interestingly enough, going to Jim Bedroom second, which is a curiosity just because Cash can be fairly effective. But at the same time, you know, it just could be down to feeling confident in this Jim Bedroom strategy. They want to try it maybe a little bit earlier or just throw off the Mouse attackers. They are going to tease the Ying, but then still bring the Thatcher. See if the attack goes down a little bit differently than before. But they have all the tools they need to make this work. Just hopefully they can stay a little bit live a little bit longer on that pulse, and it is going to be played by someone different this time. LoJax is going to be on the castle instead. Got a lot of reinforcements to set up for this. But the question is, how many people are going to play in Cash for this defense? How many people will go for roam? Because there are a variety of ways to play this defense, and you don't want to stick all 5 people in Bedroom.
Yeah, so, when you're looking at this, there's 2 different ways that teams will play this. Either you fortify Cash and you really contest it, or you fall off immediately. You make sure that you've got some kind of presence inside of the bathroom, in between, well, technically not in between the sites, but at the bottom of both sites, technically, with the bathroom connecting both Master as well as Jim. And then you'll typically have somebody play below, maybe somebody downstairs in stock. It's hard to tell. It really depends on the way these teams want to be able to establish their map control, because typically on Jim Master, you need some semblance of map control. It can't all be Cash, because if you get forced out of Cash, you're in bad shape, because then you immediately almost always concede construction as well, because you've got the windows in construction that are there that can possibly pinch you once you do get forced out of Cash. So you need to go, and you need to go quickly. That's the way we see a lot of teams play it. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see Vicious have 1 body downstairs, possibly have the Valkyrie, or maybe even the Pulse, both of which are very well suited to be in that position. But it looks like, for the most part, Mouse is actually going to avoid Cash for the time being, and well, they've put quite a bit into, into the jacuzzi wall. Rich tries to peek Beastly, and the Echo will toss his life away. And it's another run out here as well, down through dirt, but it will get nothing. So chances made and opportunities lost for Vicious here.
I like the concept of the run out from dirt, because a lot of people stacking up on Hot Tub the way they are is actually a good idea. But Happy Vandal there getting the kill, and then Vicious taking one back from Nog. That is going to even things up a little bit, but Thermite's already done his job. Pixel taking a bit of damage as well, losing the the Valkyrie and the Echo early, though, was definitely bad. A lot of health going down as well. Pixel still at that low health, and LoJax still going to have to try and fight this for his team, as unfortunately now he falls. Pixel all alone in this against 3 fairly high health attackers with fairly good guns as well. A lot of pings coming out trying to help him, but they will not lead to a clutch as Hyper finishes things off. A little bit of a slow attack, but certainly a deadly one. Hyper with an interesting angle there through the window. He pretty much played that window, I'd say, most of the round.
Yeah, and that's what I touched on at the start. Usually you'll have teams stacked up on windows. One might be over on construction, but you're likely going to have somebody over on Master as well as Jim. There was next to no construction or Cash presence whatsoever. I think Mouse read into it quite well that they could essentially take Jacuzzi Wall and push into Jim, and there would be next to nothing stopping them. And that's the way that Vicious had lined themselves up. They had to concede that very quickly. They had to basically give it up, forfeited control of it. They walked back, and what ended up happening was Mouse just had so many angles on you that almost every time, with the exception of Nog playing quite well, as we've said many times, trying to take frags, it was routine. Mouse just held angles. Even when, I believe it was the Pulse, tried to get back to sight, all of his bullets ended up hitting that one workout machine, the weight machine, didn't get the planter at all. Plant goes down successfully, and then you get locked out. All in a day's work for Mouse.
I think it could have gone a little bit differently. I mean, obviously, because I'm saying something's going to be different, but I think it could have gone much more favorably to Vicious had they landed the shots from the cache window. You know, the one that turned around on him. Because once you start to put pressure on there, yeah, you get the kill first, and then you start to hide, right? All of a sudden, they have to watch themselves. You talk about, oh, they didn't take cache. Then they start to have to be able to hold that angle anymore. Because like I said, they were playing that window most of the time. If they could not safely play that window anymore, they're in a position where they have to focus more on the hot tub, or they have to start to take map control the opposite side. And that burns a lot of time. Even if you just got the kill and ran away back to site, that still would have put a lot more pressure on Mouse. And I mean, it's a bummer for that one missed shot to really make a big difference, but that's how it is a lot of times with these defensive rounds. If you don't make your plays count, things start falling apart.
All right, Clubhouse, another match another map that tends to be very defender-sided. So not ideal to lose your Gym Master take, but I mean, you can definitely still cobble together a defense-winning Church and then Cache and CCTV. Now, the problem is that they went to Gym Master second. If they had gone to Cache CCTV second and won it, they would have been able to play it again on the 5th go-through. If they win Cache CCTV here, then it's locked for the rest of their defense. So those are definitely things to keep in mind for a lot of these teams when you're looking at the way that the site rotation works. If you win something on the 3rd try, that's it. That's your only opportunity to go there. So definitely some strategy at play. And I mean, the thing with CCTV Cache is that it plays out almost the mirror opposite of the way that Gym and Master goes. A lot of teams will try to take Master, and then Construction is going to be your main focus if you don't go for Garage, which is the 2 routes to get in here. But Oasis able to eliminate England, and good for Mouse that they've been able to run 2 hard breachers both times. And while Oasis isn't going to be able to fight his way out of it, Hyper's going to take a lot of damage and miss the shots onto the Yokai, and there's actually a Lesion there waiting. LoJack's getting aggressive, and the disrupting blast from Rich's Yokai will miss, and Hyper just cannot grab the drone.
Unfortunately, it's actually a good bait and distraction for a second there. That is going to bait out a lot of shots and give some idea where the pressure's starting to come from here. But a lot of attacks right here really start to fall apart. Not only have they lost the Thermite, which gives them the ability to move through. Ooh, there's the Echo, though. Getting a little bit crispy. And then a nice trade back by Nog. But now they're going to have to pressure through the wall in a Construction Connector. And that's much harder to do sometimes with just the Hibana. But a nice down there. He could potentially pick himself up, of course. But you'd rather have 50 HP than 5.
That was a nice reset, and as well, there's nobody for Rich unless there's some kind of rotate here, and there you go. It's going to be LoJack's watching one angle as Pixel trying to get to Rich, and they might actually be able to get the Echo back up. You saw the Yokai on the ground as well, but they've lost sight control. So all the while they've done this, they have conceded the most important advantage they had, which was being able to play inside of sight. There's the Yokai doing good work. Now that Rich is back to life, they're able to get the drone out, and they'll hit the Thatcher twice. The C4 goes off below Beastly, and will get finished off by Pixel, and it's going to be Hyper who's going to be swinging at the wind. One of the newest members to competitive Rainbow Six at this level, and he's not going to last too much longer. LoJack emerges from the corner, and swift couple bullets will be Hyper's undoing. That's 2 for Vicious, as it's been back and forth, and Cache going in hand. Church unlocks an opportunity for Vicious to go back downstairs.
Now, we talked about earlier about how Coastline was fairly attacker-sided. Clubhouse tends to be fairly defender-sided, which is giving Vicious a little bit of an early advantage here in terms of, in theory, being favored on one side or the other. But of course, you have to capitalize on that. It doesn't automatically mean you win your defense. So it's good on Vicious. The way they've been playing so far has been at least fairly trade-heavy. And that's what we were talking about earlier is a big difference, and that was what Obey was struggling with at first. Vicious seemed to be doing a good job of that. If they're losing a guy, they tend to be trading it off, with maybe the exception of the Gym bedroom defense, which was a bit more a struggle. You're talking about being the mirror image as well, and the one difference, I suppose, is the ease or not of opening the wall. That hot tub wall came down fairly easily, whereas the Kennels wall that you have coming into the server's room, much more difficult to open if it's played well on defense. That being said, that we go back down to Church. As you said, they cannot play Cache again because they played it. They won it their 3rd time. So no more. I love the strategies that come out from the current setup that you have of the way the rounds work, the way the rotates work. the way that you have to rotate sites, the way certain maps have more or less bomb sites, definitely does make things a lot more interesting, but it is good to see that Vicious are able to at least win 2 of their sites consistently. However, if they win Church here, that means they do have to go back to Gym, the one site they have failed, which could leave them open to a 3-2 scoreline going into the switch if things continue as they were before. Mouse, however, should, in theory, be a little bit more prepared for this time, because last time we saw the the
5 seconds left.
Legion of Oasis was up on that top floor managing to get away. There was 2 up there. Did manage to lose one of them in that process, I believe, and that was the Pulse, which they're not even going to be running this time. So LoJack's instead going to be on Jaeger. So things, in theory, might shake out a little bit differently this time, which may favor Mouse a little bit, who had a good attack, just managed to get shut down a little bit once they went for the execute. I feel like dropping hatches, though, generally doesn't work out as often as teams might think it does. And so I'm just not a big fan of the whole drop hatch idea.
I mean, hatch dropping is effective if you've got smokes or a Ying available for you or something along those lines. You know, we've seen Ying drops happen before there. You know, it's even on when he was on CLG, England would Ying drop hatches.
More often than not, the Ying would die, though.
Yes, and we also saw England back when he was on CLG running a fuse and then trying to smoke drop and plant when they were playing on the old club.
That was great.
One of the few times that we would see a fuse come out. So, I mean, there's different ways to play this, but.
Yeah.
Overall, we transition in 1 minute into this round, and Oasis, once again, they just cannot find him, and he's going to take out Vertical, and the X-Kairos will be a pretty stark reminder of drone effectively. They will sit there and be a totem, essentially, for Mousesports' inability to find where the roamers are.
And that's unfortunate. You'd much rather lose Thermite than Habana in this case. Hatch is a little more important. And there's the Legion as well, this time by Pixel, still being effective. Their ability to play upstairs is absolutely working in their favor. Oasis is, in theory, somewhat trapped here, but much like a cornered animal, playing very well. Unfortunately, they bait him into watching one angle, but he doesn't fall for it. Pappy Vandal there, still winning the kill.
There was a soft wall that they could have pressured him through at some point. That was Mouse just taking way too long to find one person. With 3 people there, that could have been much swifter for Mousesports and could have put them in a great spot. But more than anything, unless they use one of the exothermic charges, should they even have one left in England's hands on the hatches, this has deprived Mouse of a pretty important amount of map that they can take away from Vicious. Vicious is going to be able to play quite safely under these hatches, especially the stock hatch. That means that blue is going to be even harder to attack now than we find some teams to struggle with. And if somebody does decide to peel off of blue on defense, then they don't have to worry about any coverage from above because that hatch is going to stay reinforced.
I think that hatch has definitely become much more important. It used to be just kitchen hatch was everything. Now that hatch has definitely become a big part of it as well. But instead, they're just going to pretty much renovate the entire kitchen floor. Fortunately, not landing the shots. Rich is actually the one to get the kill on Hyper. So it's starting to fall apart pretty quickly as Vandal is the next to fall.
Those are shots you gotta make. So Vandal not able to connect there, and you saw he was trying to use the skeleton key from long range, couldn't get anything with it. Rich is just putting in so much work here, and Pixel will jump in as well. Oasis started things off 3 in the middle for Rich, and Pixel gets the last one needed. Vicious have looked very good on defense so far, but more than that, Mouse just unable to connect what they need to connect there.
Yeah, definitely not working out as well as they would like. It just seems those little mistakes, like you're talking about, where they're not using the soft wall, for example. They're not pinching effectively, and sometimes these roamers are just kind of able to do way more than they should be able to do, especially in a situation, like I said, where Oasis was trapped in that room. He didn't even move more than 2 feet for quite a while, pretty much just holding one position down by himself against 3 people. That shouldn't be happening for Mouse right now, and that's why you see a 3-1 scoreline. But they go back to the only bomb site they've really been struggling on. In theory, they could have gone for a bar, but that's probably a much bigger risk than going back to your secondary bomb site.
Yeah, Jim makes the most sense. I mean, bar stock is winnable for the defense. It's definitely there. But I think it's the hardest site for you to work with on a map in which you get a big advantage being a defender for the most part. don't go with the site that gives you the least.
No, absolutely. If there's 3 good bomb sites, play the 3 good bomb sites. That being said, they still have to adapt to making this. Maybe some of it comes down to just being able to land some of those peaks. You saw the peak attempt from the cache window as well as the peak attempt from dirt. I mean, it's risky to attempt the same peaks again, but just the idea that you can keep Mouse on their toes, if they can succeed with some of those shots, put pressure to where Mouse is not able to confidently hold angles on them and put the pressure on them, that could be a big deal. Obviously, there are a lot of ways to put pressure on. They could take cache this time. They could fight from the logistics hatch. They could open up the hot tub wall, and that starts to kind of crush down on them. And it's a situation where, even yeah, you can rotate people up and down the stairs, but for the most part, the hot tub wall being open mostly negates that, especially if combined with the logistics hatch being open as well. It is a tough spot to be in as a defender on this bomb site if you cannot maintain at least one of those solid map control points. Or maybe you win some of those cheeky peaks.
All right. Well, Rich, who was able to put in a lot of work in the previous round as Echo, didn't even really need the yokai drone, just simply fragging out with the MP5 suppressed. Hyper spots one of his devices pretty fast, but I mean, you're not going to be able to do much with it. Thatcher's EMP doesn't do anything other than disable it, which means it drops to the ground vulnerable, which is where it already happens to be. So it's just a little bit out of reach of Hyper, and he can't be able to pick away at it. He doesn't really know exactly how close to the wall it is. So also, it could be downstairs as well. That could be on the roof downstairs on that first floor for Rich, waiting to see if there's going to be a possible push from the main floor over by pool table. But it's something that's hard to determine. Anywho, jacuzzi wall opened quite easily. No contention whatsoever. And now they'll also get the reinforced wall in bathroom. Now, this is interesting because by opening up this bathroom wall and jacuzzi wall, you basically force all of Vicious into 2 angles. Office and construction. That's really the only place they can play other than below, because there's no other safe spots for you to really be on site. Vicious gets spotted out by a drone, and Vandal here just trying to drone himself in. There's a Valkyrie underneath the hatch, and well, there you go. It's going to get dropped, but Oasis is only going to get a scratch. That's it. Not too much, and still trying to dare the bucket. Oh, what a shot from Oasis as he takes out Vandal. Not good for the buck.
No, he even follows it up with a quick drone kill to make sure that he's not as easily pressured right after that. But Vertical in the meantime tries to creep in, denied, but Pixel, the first kill onto England there of that. Beastly taking down Nog, though, is definitely going to trade it back. However, advantage here for Vicious big time is, yeah, you didn't necessarily need the Thermite anymore, but the buck being down definitely could hurt. Surprising that they don't play the buck from below at all, the pressure. Unfortunately, Oasis is not going to get a second kill as Vertical just barely makes the peek work.
This is the crouch peeking type of play style that we like to see all over. Now Hyper hits the deck as well. A double kill for him as Low Jacks with the UMP. Low fire rate, not the highest amount of damage. It'll chew through Vertical, but cannot get enough as it just softens up Beastly, and Mouse is there just simply able to overpower the castle.
Tell you what, though, I definitely think it would have been much smarter to go Jim at third. But, I mean, that's assuming you know which sites you're going to lose. That would have worked out much better because they would have gone Church, Cash, won both of those, lost in Gym, then gone Church, Cash again, won both of those in theory, of course, and that would have come out with a 4-1 scoreline versus a 3-2, but still favor here to them. However, now they switch sides, and we were talking about how this can be a defensive-sided map. Now Mouse can take advantage of that, and they're going to play a great defensive side here. As we said, if you can hold that wall with like a bandit in terms of the Kennels wall, it can be very effective. The Monty coming out here is something we see some teams trying to do in a variety of ways. One big one is to push up through the garage stairs, which teams see with varying success. One team that I've seen, for example, fail at it quite often was Vitality back in the day when they were trying to do it with the Zephyr. Just did not work at all. But then you see some people like Fox will play it kind of cheeky, and it's definitely a risky play because there's lots of ways to counterplay it, but you also see some people wanting to just use it for roam clear from the rest of the map. They'll just push around from the other side, be able to kind of close things off on the construction side. So we'll see though. Beastly though, actually the one most for his team, we were just talking up England. He's actually down there with 0 kills, surprisingly. But we'll see if things turn around now. Almost the same kind of frags for the most part, shifted around, but a little bit more coming out from Vicious, and of course that's why you see the 1-point lead.
Interesting thing about Mouse is that in the very first stage, they made it to the finals. They were eliminated by Noble. The second stage, they made it to the semifinals and were eliminated by Cloud9. So now they're here playing Vicious. Now keep in mind this is Vicious's map as well. And I mean, we saw how much map choices matter. Elephant Gang on Coastline trounced Obey, ended up losing the series. Okay. Vicious, very good so far through the 5 rounds, but it's a close gap. I mean, there's 1 round difference. That's as close as it's going to get.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens now that we've changed sides, because if Mouz can lock down defense, then number 1, we're likely going to have an overtime here, or we're going to see Mouz win it outright. But, I mean, overall, the way that Vicious has been playing, they've been playing quite coordinated, and it's not even that. There's been some errors that have been committed on their side. They've peaked unnecessarily. They've gotten the wrong call. I think back to the very first time that they defended both Jim and Master, Lojax peeked around the corner and went for a pre-fire on bad or outdated intel. That's obviously an issue for your team, but it's more than that. Mouz just don't look like they've been taking their opponents as seriously as they have other opposition.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be something that kind of throws you off. Just taking some time to warm up there. To be fair, though, it's a case where, yeah, you say Vicious are making peaks that are probably unnecessary, but they've also been winning a lot of peaks they probably should be on Mouz, and maybe that's just encouraging them to peak a bit more often when they probably shouldn't. This attack here, this is one that we see tend to not work out so great a lot of times because it's very bottlenecked right on in through that door. Yeah, if you can clear that out and maybe push on in, great. That can definitely help, and you get pressure here from this window, but it's just not enough pressure to make this work. You really need that wall open to make it a big deal, and there goes the attempt there to bandit trick it, failing now that the wall's open. Pressure could come from both sides, and Vicious are in a much better position, still with 1:20 left as well. Definitely could make this happen here, but the fact that it's 5v5 right now still means it could be anyone's game, and Diffuser being dropped on the bedroom side means they're still looking to potentially push from the side that's, I wouldn't say favored, unless they're putting a lot of pressure on Kennels, which they're not doing anything from right now. In fact, there's a defender underneath the server's room right now, and that's a big deal. I mean, obviously it would hurt more if it was someone with C4, but still not great.
Yeah, right now Vicious is going to have to fight from a position where it's Mouz in a show of strength to stop this. And a good grenade there on the Vandal, which will down him, gets answered by a Toxic Babe. And I think that we're going to try to see England go for a reset here onto the Echo. A Vandal can crawl far enough out. But Nog will get lead-off kill onto Beastly. Rich trying to do some damage. He'll drop through the hatch. And I don't think they're aware that the Legion of Vertical playing inside a garage, as well as the Jaeger of Hyper down below, could both just simply jump on them. Oh, Oasis not missing his shots today, but neither is England on that encounter. Hyper takes out Lojax as he tries to get back to the site. Nog stumbling in, will down the smoke. He goes for 2. Oh, Nog with the double kill on to England, and Hyper, he has just been on fire these past 2 games. What a performance from Nog, leading the way. He's up 4-2.
Definitely a great attack round. We were worried about how things would switch over, and being more defensive sided, in theory, that should have gone much more Mouse's way. Of course, the inability to deny the wall from being opened does really shift things around, and the fact that it didn't come down at the last second to do that made a big difference because you saw them rotate around, start getting a lot more picks there, especially being able to actually come in from the Kennels wall towards the end, making a huge difference. They didn't necessarily need to focus on the garage, and I'm glad they didn't go with the Monty after all, because it definitely worked out better. But again, it was a lot of them hitting their shots, playing smart angles, their grenade down as well. You saw them never actually really be able to get over to Vandal because they were too distracted by all the shots coming down, and that really worked out because in the meantime, when they were trying to pick him up, Beastly fell down. And then they were started to run out of, they had 3 people left essentially at that point. No really chance to pick anyone up. They were mostly downstairs. One of them came out for peek, got caught by Oasis. That just left them in such a touchy spot. And then having 2 right around the corner, the top of the cache stairs, not great.
Yeah, very, very difficult. Very difficult, and the way that Mouz played that, I actually think Mouz played that quite well. They had bodies down below. I don't think they were anticipating that they were get grenaded inside of construction, but there usually should be an ADS there. Could have been burned by Nog at that point because you have a Zofia whose job is, you know, to destroy those ADSs as quickly as possible and very effectively, as long as you've got other abilities to possibly pin down the defenders. But then for Mouz, there was just nobody watching inside of CCTV, and that call could not have possibly come out to the Jaeger of Hyper fast enough after England fell. I don't care how good a team is, how coordinated or communicated the team is, the time in which England ended up getting down to Hyper getting down to, there's no team on earth that's able to spit that call out fast enough to have somebody react. It's just not doable.
I mean, it's a bummer too that the people downstairs were ones that didn't have C4s or anything, maybe impacts on a Legion, that's about it. So they couldn't really do a ton to counter the plant from down there. They were going to be bottlenecked upstairs at that point. We'll see how the attack goes down again, though, because they are going to try cash again, something we've been seeing a lot of tonight. Teams just not rotating until they feel like, well, 2 times of failing is not, you know, going to work, so we'll rotate. But we are going to see Hibana's used to open up the wall. They still have the double hard breacher, though, so they can open up the Kennel's wall as well. But it looks like maybe more of a garage take this time, instead of focusing on the other side.
This is the way that we saw Clubhouse shake out when it was first introduced, and a lot of teams were trying to deal with it, was that, well, you use your utility on the garage there, you open up a little bit of the window, you can push in through that way, you know, that's how you basically flush out garage. And LoJax, whose team is not able to take out the bandit batteries effectively, is going to not just take a little bit of damage, but also worry about losing the exothermic charge. Beastly at the last second will get the exothermic charge. So there you go. No hard destruction will be had. At least one of those exothermic charges, as I will say it again, will be burned. So you lose Vandal early on. You trade that out for Nog, who is probably the biggest kill for you to get because he has been almost single-handedly carrying Vicious so far.
Yeah, that's definitely a big deal because, of course, Nog was the one trying to help that wall get open as well. So that was definitely worth it. Good credit to Vandal as well. However, the wall still will get open. He has 2 because they brought 2 hard breachers. They had enough utility to get the job done. So yeah, it was a great kill on Nog, but they also lose one of their late game operators of the Echo. So that is still a little bit unfortunate for Mouz, but it's a 4v4, a little bit more damage done to Vicious. However, a full minute left for them to do some droning if they manage their quote-unquote drone economy well here.
So they just need to watch the angles for the time being, and well, there you go, trying to burn through the ADSs. 2 bodies above, but a bit of a log jam there as Vicious tries to get back through that opening, and both Rich and Oasis will collide. But Vertical, a double kill, no opportunity for a refrag here. A frag grenade from Rich will go out, it will connect. Vertical losing his HP, but not all of it. He's still there, he will still persist. And Rich will have 2 bodies to get through. Both prone as he hits the barbed wire. Doesn't see the head and oh, cannot land the shots. They're on their stomachs and Hyper will eliminate Rich. LoJax outside in an almost hopeless and unwinnable set of circumstances. And there you go. There's a goo mine thrown in front of him. Toxic Babe goes off and then you've got Beastly there to finish the deal. This was a big round for Mouz. They would have ended up on match point if they were not able to get it. So obviously, pretty high stakes there.
Yeah, I think a big thing that cost Vicious quite a bit was the fact that the 2 people sitting in Garage up at the catwalk the whole time, and they expended a lot of utility trying to fight Garage and couldn't get anything out of doing so. Meant they spent a lot of time just accomplishing nothing from that side. Yeah, they managed to get the angles open and then try and fight them with the, you know, the X-Kairos, so in theory that was successful, but because it didn't lead to killing anyone upstairs, those 2 people just able to sit up there. Because they're able to sit up there, at some point you have to give up Garage and then they can just rotate back to site. I just more often than not think Garage is sadly not worth taking because it's so hard to fight that catwalk if you have competent players playing it up there, which they were, especially with 2 of them. You know, chances are if you were able to get one of those kills, you were going to get traded off. There was no way he was going to take control of that Garage as one person.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange though, right? Because it's a lot of the reason why teams can contend Garage so well is they'll either put a Mute or a Jaeger there, or possibly a Maestro. Then you'll put either Mute Jammers or ADSs around him. The Maestro has a good gun, obviously. I mean, Maestro's banned, so he's not going to be somebody here. But you still have the Jaeger and the Mute available in this particular matchup. A lot of teams will try to take care of it by running a Glaz. Glaz is open, he's not banned, so you can see the Glaz come in and be able to put that pressure on Garage, and it makes clearing Garage a lot quicker. You know, you can have Zofia throw a couple concussive mines up, burn those ADSs, you have the Hibana be able to open up the Garage as we saw, and one of the things that Hibana opening does is it also allows you to stand outside, and you can get an angle all the way up to that window that you need to vault through to get from CCTV into Garage.
Which is why you see it in what looks like an odd spot from the outside.
Yes, and people don't, I think, realize that right at first glance. So it's definitely something that could have been utilized, but overall, I think that in that round in particular, Vicious just didn't put the bodies where they needed to. They had 2 people come into Garage. They were trying to push from below. You've got ADSs above. You know, you burn the ADSs, but the frag grenade will miss. You've got nobody else to possibly push them from the main Garage door. It was just, overall, it was a miscalculation, I think, on Vicious's part, and it ended up being quite costly, as that was a round that I think possibly could have put this one away, as it would have been very difficult for Mouse to come back. But now Mouse still definitely has a pulse.
Either way, though, still advantage to Vicious is pretty good here at the start, considering they won the very first attack. And there's a chance they could pull this one off as well. At least they brought it to Jackal to try and clear things a little bit faster. So they're correcting some of the things that kind of hurt Mouse a little bit in terms of that roam control. Bringing a Blackbeard here is a little bit different. You talked about how the Glaz was left available, but the Blackbeard's going to be brought instead in a very typical old-fashioned blue push. Good to see that again. I mean, Nog was playing in those days, so he's definitely familiar with that.
He used to play for Insomnia all the way back, if people remember. So here he is on Blackbeard, and this seems to be the press case, or smash case, or break case in case of emergency, break glass in case of emergency. I can't do words today again, so smash glass in case of emergency, and here you have it. That's their panic button. Nog on the Blackbeard, he can just wreak so much havoc and just make your life absolutely miserable. He's on a very commendable flank hold there, watching it for about 45 seconds now with the rest of his team getting Rich will get one. Great teamwork, and that'll be a down as he'll get picked up, and there's Nog. Oh my goodness. Nog will finish him off. Vertical is still down, but all the goo mines that Vertical had sat as Nog picks up 2 kills.
Nicely done there. Just the timing and the pre-fire of that deployable shield still going to be a bit of a problem here for Nog, but he doesn't even have to try and push it. He can just hold a flank onto Church the whole time. However, he'll still win it.
Oh my goodness, just all over the place now. And, well, it's England versus Nog in this particular matchup, and he's going to go for England through the easily destructible wood. Nog just lumbers right in. Pixel's there to help take everybody down, but England is on a mission. He'll find a second kill onto Rich. Can they be able to get the smoke in time? Nog will have to trudge through, breathes in a lot of those toxic babes. England low on HP, and they'll down him, but England again and again and again. England with the clutches when need be. Excellent smoke play, and it's all tied up 4-4.
Well, this could come back for a lead here for Mouse, or it could just go back and forth and back and forth. However, the plays that we're seeing from Mouse, it's seeming a bit better coming out from them. That being said, though, Nog still definitely performing consistently most rounds there. You saw it with the Blackbeard that round, and it was funny, again, we talk about the cyclical meta on here, so it's funny to see that kind of approach come back, because that is an older way to approach it, because you don't necessarily need to do that as often now that you have the stairs to come down much closer to the actual site. But the fact that there was someone with the deployable shield there, it made the way he was playing it a little bit smarter. So it worked out very nicely. But of course, the crossfire coming from Moto definitely made the big difference. And I think more often than not, teams succeed by pushing from Moto, or at least putting from pressure from there, rather than a lot of the other strategies that seem to be failing for Mouse when they were on their attacks. We'll see, though. Things could change here. They're going to show off their gym bedroom defense. If they can't do it any better than Vicious, then Vicious go back into the lead again and put it on map point. But that could very quickly turn into an overtime.
Yeah, I mean, overall, Vicious tends to see their stock fall when Nog dies. Oasis has also been there, as you note on the scoreboard, not just in terms of secondary fragging, but also the one thing that Oasis has done that those six kills don't show. He's been tremendous at being able to get the very first opening frag, and it's almost always on an incredibly vital operator when he was playing on defense onto attack. Now, obviously they've changed sides, and Oasis has been a bit quieter since going on attack, because you can't really jump on defenders the same way, especially if you don't bring enough utility from the attacking side of things. So we'll see what they can manage to do with or without Oasis here. Oasis was occupying the role of Jackal last time around, and when we saw them last week, it was Pixel that was playing the Capitao, which was excellent, but Pixel ended up dying really early on, and we never really saw much of a strat from the Capitao. And I think when you lose Capitao, who's just such a heavily utility-based operator, losing the Capitao can be really damning for your attack strat, because you don't have somebody else there to be able to pick up the slack.
Yeah, definitely problematic for them. And it, I mean, this is a case here where they're not running a Capitao, so hopefully that won't be a problem for them. Nice grenade throw from Rich. Doesn't really turn in anything, unfortunately. Interesting to see Vandal on the Alibi. He is someone that will play a lot of different interesting roaming operators. We've seen him. He was even the first to bring in a Caveira in Pro League. That was back on Cafe a while back when Cafe was still a thing. But nonetheless, it is not surprising to see him playing that. Then we'll see, though, if his roam will be on point here. Because if it will be, we can see him being very impactful later on in the round, as this attack is stacking up fairly heavily to to push in here. They do have the pressure from the other side as well, though. And Oasis trying to find an angle, can't quite do so. I like the little just hop through buck hole they did it. Unfortunately, there's a nice trick pulled out from Vertical, but he has taken half his health and damage, and he is the only damage so far.
This is a good play from Rich there. Shot the alibi, as a lot of teams have done, and then immediately assume you're going to get pushed, so just pre-fire away. But he doesn't take the bait, you know. It's, as Vertical says, throwing down a snack, yeah, but there's nobody there eating it, so.
I like how there's a Jackal tracking as well as the alibi was tracking in a way, so they're like tracking each other at that point.
I believe that's called a nightmare. So, from below, still a lot of problems for Vicious being able to open this up. There's Nog continuing on with his excellent play, and well, Rich can't connect from below. He's going to do quite a bit of damage to Hyper, but doesn't get to secure the kill. And Hyper's just going to continuously play inside of Cash.
Well, we'll see if they can hold off. They have lost one defender, but no attackers have fallen yet, other than Rich taking a bit of damage. So, in theory, advantage over here to Vicious, but time is starting to dwindle down here as they get down to 48 seconds. They have to start to turn it into an execute. And unfortunately, a lot of the way that these defenders are set up, they're having trouble pinching them out. And opening the hot tub wall just now, when there's not a ton you can do to contest it outside of Bandit, seems like that might have been a waste of time. But hey, Nog's still alive.
Yeah, he is, and there we are. Oasis just vaults right in. He's going to be downed immediately after taking out Hyper. England's shotgun pointed towards the sky. Going to see what clay pigeons he can find here, as if anybody's going to decide to toss. But no, they're still just going to try to remobilize, and not a lot of time left. But Vandal peeks right into Rich, and once again, England will need to be a superstar in this round. Diffuser goes down for Vicious, and match point on the line. Vertical runs out, Vertical, the double kill! He's gonna hop right back in. This is winnable as England is there, but Nog doing great work. He'll shut him down. And there's a reinforced wall that will stop England from being able to get the peek and kill that he needs to. He's gonna walk through the wall, and I don't know if he's having an issue with it or not. There he goes. He'll vault right through, but he's going to have a Blackbeard shield. I don't know if he sees it. And there's Nog to finish him off, and Vicious will go on to match point.
Well, that certainly continued to be in Vicious's favorite, as you said. Nog living there definitely made a big difference. Time management wasn't totally on their side there, but nonetheless, they were definitely able to get a lot of the work done that they needed to do early to pave the way for that push to actually happen. The important part, though, was they got the diffuser down, and that put them in a position where they had to try and retake it. And unfortunately for England, too many people left alive, especially one with the shield on his face, makes it that much harder to do because, yeah, you can dump out quite a few bullets fairly fast on that SMG-11, but if most of them are going to hit his shield, you're not going to do a whole lot. He almost needed the shotgun at that point and to push from very close to the door. But either way, there was still someone right there to just trade it, so most likely would not have worked, unfortunately for him. But a valiant effort, nonetheless. They are going to try Cash for their last defense, at least of this side here. They could go to overtime, though, as all Mouse has to do is win this round, and then we go to what would be our first overtime of the night. So, I would like to see overtime. I am a bit surprised with how close this has been, all things said and done. You know, this has been an incredible back and forth between these teams. 16 kills for Nog. I mean, I definitely didn't want to underestimate Vicious here. I mean, to be fair, this is their map pick, but at the same time, this has definitely been a great performance from Vicious, and I'm glad to see they've learned quite a bit from their previous matchup against Mouse, which, as I remind you, Mouse won in this matchup last time. So this has definitely been an interesting comeback. Still not over yet, though. Mouse could completely sweep this back. They could get that OT. They could get the points, they could take this map, then take their map, and completely shut out Vicious. So, entirely possible. Would be nice to see more members of Vicious showing up. But like you said, Oasis has been a great player as well. Mouse, however, just don't seem to be as coordinated as we're used to seeing from them, I think. Yeah, I mean, especially over the latter half of the North American Pro League scene, which is where we've seen most of Mouse come from. I think they had a bit of a stumble against Cloud9. I don't think their performance, you know, their stumble against Cloud9 coming here in USN, even at DreamHack after picking up England, they made the quarterfinals in Montreal. But other than that, there wasn't much that we saw from them there. They really struggled in some of their games. But it's interesting that they've just played so well time and time again, but it's not translating in this particular matchup right now. Yeah. Like I said, it's still not over yet, though, but it's definitely trending the way of Vicious. However, Nog is going to be doing his thing with this Blackbeard. Again, reminds me of the way Retro plays it as well, the Blackbeard on this window. Typical thing coming out from him. But it's going to get read into by Beastly, so if the timing is right here, could lose this fight. However, Hyper's going to go down in the meantime either way, so even if Beastly goes for it, it's too little too late. He does have a little bit of potential peek through those, through the bomb itself, maybe even through some of the debris on the rack. But he's playing it patient, which is probably the smart approach here. Don't let him know you're there because, well, I mean, 16 kills, 17 now. You don't want to let him know you're there.
Yeah, so what can happen next? Hyper down and the ADSs will still persist 90 seconds in. You've gotten one frag and you've taken out somebody from Mouz who is a pretty good shot. You know, Hyper is a smart player, a good player, so it's not too weird to think that Mouse's chances have certainly fallen after that kill. So downstairs clear, trying to figure out if there's any roamers. They anticipate another run out. Obviously the shades of last round still coming back to possibly haunt them, as Vertical went for that big jump out and managed to net 2 kills, but wasn't enough to help the rest of the team. Construction control for Vicious is there, and they'll flash right in, as Nog is still just waiting to see if somebody is going to peek, and of course peeking the Blackbeard, almost never a wise idea, unless you happen to have a shotgun and can aim at center mass.
Well, interesting that they have the buck downstairs to potentially open up some of it, but Rich is actually taking a bit of damage. In theory, he should be able to help out. Oh, 2 people there, and somehow Oasis gets away with it. That's the story of this game. And then C4 killing your own teammate, Vertical picking one down, Nog killing another, all down to Vandal here.
This is going to be nigh impossible for the Echo, as he's got his work cut out for him. 1v4, you're a 3 armor. You're not exactly that nimble, but you have an ACOG. You've got some marks at least, and well, you see the foot, but that's about it. Pixel putting in good effort that time around will give his team the 6-4 victory, and Vicious doing very, very well. We'll move to Bank, which is Mouse's choice, but damn, what a result.
Yeah, a very, very good game by them. I mean, I don't want to credit it all to Nog, but I'd say the lion's share definitely going over to him. A fantastic performance that really made a huge impact. I can't imagine they saw that coming. 18 kills, you don't see that very often, and it's certainly not because everyone else is at 0. So that's why they definitely came out with the head there. Mouz just seeming to